Fourth Floor Features podcast, the swiftiest podcast on all of the internet. Today we're going to be talking about Rick and Morty, both the series as a whole and the upcoming third season. I am human person, Lucas the writer, and am joined by C137, Andrew Clark, and the current high score holder on Roy, Ryan Holtz. How you guys doing?
Is that because I'm in LA? Because if I'm Roy, then I'm doing okay right now.
I don't.
In this moment of time.
I don't know if I meant anything by that, but it
okay.
came to me in the moment.
Is C137
cool.
like real Rick? Like our Rick? Is that what C137 is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't know.
We know that's Morty. That's like main Morty, at least.
We know that's main Morty as of the beginning of the show. They haven't mentioned what universe they've been in a while, and there's a lot of theories. But yeah, whatever. We can get into that later.
Okay. Although I guess, that might not even be true because they don't bring up the universe stuff until after the Cronenberg episode.
Yeah, well, that's when it gets crazy.
Yeah, so they might have...
The show gets a little less grounded somehow.
No, dude, it's really smart. It's a really smart show.
Oh, it is. It's just, yeah.
It's really dumb
that could be confusing. Oh, yeah, it's the smartest dumb show ever made.
Only a show this smart can be this dumb.
Yep, exactly.
Very good tagline.
You guys have both seen the trailer, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Pickle Rick! It's the big reveal!
That is how they would follow up Tiny Rick. Yeah, Pickle Rick. I'm game.
I mean, it's gonna be like a full episode at least because he's running around as Pickle Rick and like doing stuff.
Yeah, he has like parts of like I think like a mouse attached to him so you can like run around and shit.
I think he killed a bunch of rats to make that exosuit. So
it's hardcore.
I don't get how he killed them, like the first rat. I guess maybe he found a dead rat. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it though, if he's left out for like more than 20 minutes, won't he go bad?
Yeah. That's Pickles for you. You should have chosen like Honey Rick or something like that. Something that doesn't go bad really quickly.
Yeah, but in like a month or two, he'll just be like grainy and disgusting and...
Wait, don't pickles last forever because they're like preserved in salt and everything?
Yeah, but they can dry out. No, like they won't like spoil, but they won't taste very good.
I don't think he cares about taste. I think he just wants to not be eaten by rats or send emails that explode to people.
Only in the Fourth Floor podcast do we get into the real inner workings of the mind of a pickle.
Does he have in one shot he has a brain. It's like an exo brain. And I don't know if that's just because it's part of the rat that he killed or if it's like, I don't know, part of his anatomy, but yeah. It's the minutia of this is interesting.
Royland and Harmon, of course there's going to be a lot of interesting minutia. But yeah, that on the subject of rat brains, this is going to be darker. And I'm both super on board for that, but also terrified because this show has already gone to a lot of dark places before. And I just, what's the next level of darkness?
Yeah, because they reference in the trailer that this shit's going to get dark real fast.
I think a main character might be leaving, and the obvious choice is Jerry, but
Jerry.
I just don't see how it could really get darker without like an actual death that actually reverberates with the audience, you know? That's not like, there's no way to get around it.
I mean, like, darkness can come from just like character choices and, you know, personality
Yeah, but
changes.
getting darker.
Yeah.
You know, like they have some stuff to one up, and the only way I can really see that is, something really deep.
Yeah.
Or just Jerry in a really bad depression following the divorce, which I'm glad they're actually following through with that. After 2 seasons, I'm surprised they're finally like having such a big status quo change like that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think that the relationships are going to remain kind of the same, but you never know. They might really, really upset everything.
I mean, like, They did kind of like sum up the impact of that decision in like 30 seconds when Rick gave his little tirade at the end of the special episode that we saw a couple months ago. Where it's just like, we're gonna keep going on adventures. It'll be you, sometimes your sister, every once in a while your mother, but never your dad. And that's it.
That's true.
I killed it, it's fine.
Lucas just left to go kill some sort of bug and he missed.
No, I got it. I killed that spider.
It jumped away, Lucas. It jumped and ran under the table.
It's dead. It's fine. I guess as we're mentioning the first episode already, it's insane that they premiered that as a joke, right? Like, I know a little more about TV production, the back end, than I think most people. Ryan, you now know far more than most people. How just this shouldn't be a thing that happened is this?
It's interesting. It really dives into things that probably aren't interesting, I guess, for a lot of people. But for me, it really enlightens the difference between network television and cable television.
Okay.
The fact that Adult Swim is a cable network, they have a lot more kind of leeway because their ratings honestly are already going to be really low unless you're talking about like The Walking Dead or something like that.
Right.
So really, it's not that big of a deal to Adult Swim if they just all of a sudden go, oh yeah, by the way, we want to do this April Fool's prank and just air an entire episode of Rick and Morty. Like, for what? They live streamed it for like 12 hours or something? How long was it?
Yeah, like 12 hours.
But,
like their entire block of programming.
Yeah, like obviously something like that could never happen on network television. I'd be curious to see what the ratings were, but like I think it really shows the commitment that Adult Swim has to creating just kind of good original content and not necessarily caring about their bottom line. I'm curious who owns them now, but definitely some media conglomerate, and it's cool that Adult Swim is filling in that niche of like, being able to do weird stuff like that because, where I work, there's no way anything like that could even be close to be considered. And like the fact that they did like a season premiere launch without any announcement whatsoever, that's gotta just have destroyed potential like ad dollars that they could have done with the premiere. But I guess they're still getting it with this July 30th date. So, I guess it's really cool to analyze from my perspective.
That's Turner Broadcasting, by the way. I just looked that up.
Okay, TNT or CNN, Ted Turner.
Turner Broadcasting Systems.
Yep. Yeah, they're just a cable conglomerate. They don't have any network holdings.
Wait,
so yeah, that makes sense.
TBS? They're owned by TBS?
CNN, I think, is their flagship.
Okay.
So, yep, Ted Turner. So they only do cable channels, so that might also be they just have a lot of experience in kind of cultivating a cult audience and keeping shows interesting for everyone, I guess.
God, that is all of Adult Swim. It's entirely cult audiences. I see on the planning doc. Thank you for contributing to that, Ryan. Andrew, you'll get there eventually.
I didn't read it. I didn't even open it.
There are.
I haven't. I'm making a no. I'm not making a point of it. I just don't care enough.
It seems like you wrote rumors that weren't actually canon, but we'll see about that. What were you talking about there? What's going on?
When it first came out, there was a lot of rumors that the first episode wasn't canon.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of kind of fan theories surrounding weird differences between Season 2, Episode 10 and Season 3, Episode 1. And kind of the dreamlike state that the episode floated, which, obviously is most of the time pretty weak writing, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about the way that the episode is conducted that, They might come back Season 2 or Episode 2 and shock everyone and be like, oh yeah, by the way, like that wasn't the real Season 3 Episode 1 kind of sort of thing. So that was just a cool little rumor, and we'll find out in a month. It's probably not, doesn't have any credence, but I thought it was interesting to talk about.
No, definitely, definitely. And I mean, a part of me kind of, as the 30th, the premiere gets closer, I'm thinking, do they air the April Fool's, like, episode 1 again? Do they go right to episode 2 because anybody possibly turning in has seen it already? Or, yeah, do they do something crazy, which would be exactly their wheelhouse, that, no, that episode was actually just an April Fool's joke. That's not actually how the season is going to go.
Yeah, that would be super interesting to me.
Is the Pickle Rick thing, like, is that how he escaped? He turned himself to a pickle and you can't, like, keep a pickle in lockdown or something? I don't know.
Yeah, like, there's so many different cool explanations that could come out of that. And it
Cool.
wouldn't seem that lazy
Is that-
just
is that
because
the
it'd be
word
so
you want to
weird.
use? Cool.
Absolutely.
Roiland and Harmon are the kings of cool. Come on.
That's for sure. Yeah, so I think that it would be using a tired trope to kind of like push the envelope a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
That's what they do a lot, it seems like.
Well, yeah, kind of a subversions of people's expectations of storylines or genres. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be cool for me. And then I also had another thing with the Rick switching bodies. There was one moment, because like in the thing with season 3 episode 1 was Rick constantly switching between Ricks because the Council of Ricks is involved, and that always leads to confusion. And there's one moment where we don't actually see him switch bodies, and that's right before the surprise when he, rescues Morty and Summer, quote unquote. And so people were wondering, like, oh, is that really the real Rick that we know? And is that going to be a reveal at one point that C-137 Rick's still out there? And quote unquote C-137 Rick, because we don't know what Rick that is. He just kind of showed up in the C-137 universe one day. So that could literally be any Rick ever. So really, it's just like complicated timeline stuff that could also be explained away. So, but I was a big fan of like the evil Morty theory, so I kind of like the crackpot Rick and Morty theories.
There are a lot of them, and most of them are fun. Yeah. What's the evil Morty theory?
The evil Morty theory was that evil Morty is our Rick's Morty, and because there's multiple references to like he says, I know what happens when a Morty gets too big of a head or something like that. Like there's some subtle like, that's interesting. And they had that evil Morty reveal, and then out of nowhere, like they just haven't talked about it since. So there's a lot of theories around like what's gonna happen in the future with that, because that's the ultimate Chekhov's gun. Like the fact that there's this Morty that's been able to like subjugate a Rick and basically use all other Mortys to basically be like the Rickest Morty. So
Yeah, I was about to say they better finally kind of address that this season. Otherwise, I think they've left that one on the table just a little too long. If it's not season 3.
Yeah, that I can agree with that. That's for sure.
That was kind of not the end, but like towards the end of season 1 that they did that, the whole evil Morty thing, and so they've kind of just forgotten about that.
Yeah, as far as we know.
Well, I mean, like, I'm sure they haven't actually forgotten about it. I just mean that it hasn't been in the show for a while.
Yeah.
And on a note of something we're a little bit concerned about, time to move on to some other things we might be a little bit concerned about going into season 3 of Rick and Morty. My main point is that both Roiland and Harmon have a lot of other stuff going on in their lives besides the show. Roiland, of course, he put out that, from what I hear, exceptionally good Rick and Morty virtual reality game. That had to have taken up a lot of his time and energy. And Dan Harmon went through a pretty shitty divorce. And yeah, that has to wear on somebody. So I'm a little, I don't know. I'm sure the season's going to be great, but the question is whether or not it's going to be as great as the previous two.
I'm not quite as worried about that, just because it took them so long to do this. I think if they would have come out with it, 6 or 8 months later, after the end of the season 2 finale, and all this stuff had happened, I think maybe then I would be worried. but I think it took them this long because of the stuff that they were going through and the other stuff they were doing. And so I think that, like, because they took the time, they sort of, like, negated the other stuff, like, that was getting in the way.
Yeah, I have on here, I was Googling, because I know that someone had talked about why season 3 took so long, and Dan Harmon, I think it was at PAX or something like that, confirmed that him and Roiland had been having creative tensions, and that was part of the reason. He said that they were fighting so much that they were fighting... voice crack. He said that they were fighting so much that they were fighting about why they were fighting. So that's not really good, because that marriage has been what's made this show so special, if you ask me. And so if there's tension between those two, like, that could really, really mess with the show's chemistry. So I'd be curious about that.
And I mean, I hate drawing this comparison, but in a lot of ways they are kind of like the South Park guys, in that they are just close enough to the same wavelength of humor that they can build off of each other.
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to say this because I don't know the guy, but basically every single confirmed report has been that Dan Harmon is just an asshole. Like, I mean, he admitted it. Like, he said that he's an asshole, and, like, he's the reason that him and his wife separated and everything like that. Like, pretty much everyone kind of agrees on that. So, like, creative genius, really insanely knows, like, structure, like, story structure. So, but, you know, you can't take away from the fact that he might be difficult to work with. And after I think Justin Roiland originally was like, wow, like, this is my real shot to get mainstream success. And now maybe by season 3, he's starting to be, like, getting a little sick of working with this guy, you know? So, we'll see.
God damn, that son of a bitch knows story structure.
He really does.
And I also am a little interested if maybe Roiland isn't kind of in a position to move on to another project too. I'm a little bit familiar with his back catalog of work, and it was a lot of one-off stuff.
Oh,
so,
yeah, definitely.
To contribute, what's it been now, like 4 years at least to a single project, that's got to be for somebody like him, I mean, to be a little bit...
It's resume building.
Roiland's a really interesting guy too. Like, I watch this guy's name's Ethan Klein, H3H3 on YouTube, and he's been hanging out with Justin Roiland like a decent amount. And there's this famous picture of them. It's Justin Roiland, Ethan's wife Hila, and the porn star Riley Reid.
Yep.
Like,
the number sorry mom and dad, but the number 1 porn star on Pornhub, Riley Reid, is apparently like really good friends with Justin Roiland, this just weird guy.
So he's just bumping elbows with some interesting people.
This is going to be an incredibly weird and nerdy thing for me to say, but I get a huge Salvador Dali vibe from Justin Roiland.
Really?
Like, creative, eccentric, like, surface normal, maybe can present himself.
Cuckold.
I don't know about that, but like the minute you like get to know him, like get even a centimeter under the surface, a world of just crazy opens up.
I think he seems like kind of a weird guy in everyday life too, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Like, from a lot of those videos, like, he seems a little off. Like, it's kind of interesting. He doesn't pass up a single opportunity to use his Rick or Morty voice. Like, he's not like one of those people where people are like, oh, do the voice, and he's like, oh no, I don't really do that. Like, that's just for like the show. He'll absolutely like crack it open for no reason whatsoever. Like, wasn't asked or anything like that. And it always seems kind of uncomfortable forever. It's weird.
I heard he and a buddy of his, when they were in New York, this is back like halfway through the first season of the show, they went to a strip club when they were like kind of drunk, didn't have any money. A lot of the strippers there though were fans of Rick and Morty, and so they like spent an evening at a strip club just by like drawing shitty doodles of Rick and Morty characters and him talking in the Rick voice the entire time.
Good God. Yeah, no, he seems like a weird guy. I'm just being honest.
I mean,
super creative, insanely funny, weird guy.
I think in that way he might be a good comparison to Salvador Dali, because I think you don't know who that is, Lucas.
We
'cause
did a paper about him back in high school.
I know we did, and Salvador Dali was a psychopath.
Wow.
He was crazy. There was no one ever thought that he was like a normal guy, and that like once they got to know him, they thought he was weird. Everyone knew this guy was crazy.
He did a couple like interviews. We're not getting into this on the Rick and Morty. We can do a Salvador Dali podcast later, Andrew.
No,
Topical.
guy's been dead for a long time, Lucas.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that the end credits of Rick and Morty were changed to reflect Dan Harmon's divorce?
Yeah, season 3, episode 1, where he's alone with alcohol.
I laughed more at that than what I should have. Good for him coping.
That's fair.
You're a bad man, Lucas.
No, but I've been watching Community actually lately. I've been rewatching it, and
Nice.
I didn't know, but the end title cards for that show are Harmon and Russo, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then one of them was like Russo brothers, and I'm like, oh, that's really weird. And I looked it up. Sure enough, it's Anthony and is it Peter Russo, the directors of like the new Captain Americas, like gonna be the directors of the Avengers, like big time crazy blockbuster directors now. And they were like doing Community with Dan Harmon not too long ago. That was crazy to me.
What that? Okay, I'm now like going through everything I know and have seen about Captain America and the Avengers and checking if there are any like Community influences in there. That is.
Yeah, I think they might have just been executive producers, but they were definitely directing some episodes. It would say like Anthony Russo. So I that's crazy to me.
Well, I mean, Abed was in the Winter Soldier, so
Was he really?
yeah, he was
I love that movie. When?
like he was when in the scene where, God, I really hope I'm not misremembering this because otherwise I'll feel like an idiot. But I'm pretty sure that in the scene where Captain America goes on the radio and tells everyone that's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. that like Hydra is mixed in. Spoilers. The movie's pretty old. Never mind. Like, you know, there are people who are like, you know, resisting and stuff. I'm pretty sure Abed is one of the technicians who like is like calling shit in on the radio or like resisting or something. I'm almost positive.
He's definitely one of the technicians. He goes to check it out, opens the door, and then Falcon and Captain America come in. And he just kind of puts his hands up and lets them go.
In the last paintball episode of Community, I just remembered this. They ripped off the elevator fight scene from the second Captain America. Yeah.
Wait, I'm pretty sure.
Well, other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, the paintball episode would have been first.
Yeah. Winter Soldier came out in like 2014, I think.
They had the last season of Community going on. That went on to Yahoo up on like 2015. I don't know if the Russo brothers were still involved for that, or if it's just like a nod to them or something. But yeah, that was a thing.
Cool.
Huh. Crazy. But yeah, so that was cool. I don't know what it has to do with Rick and Morty other than Dan Harmon.
It doesn't.
But yeah.
No, it's cool, man. It's interesting to see how all of this random media shit is connected.
Yeah.
The Matrix is strong. I don't know.
What else do we have to say about Rick and Morty?
I am more excited for season 3 of Rick and Morty than season 7 of Game of Thrones.
God, no.
And you are a crazy
Yeah,
person.
God, no, Lucas. Why?
Rick and Morty... Okay, Game of Thrones makes me feel, makes me laugh, gets me hype, like entertains me. Rick and Morty does all of that, but also makes me think.
And Game of Thrones doesn't ever make you think?
Well, it makes me think about, the show itself, but never like... I've never had like a Game of Thrones episode or moment that I saw that and I'm like... I can interpret that into my own life somehow. Rick and Morty, I've had that a couple of times.
I mean, you can interpret, a self-help book into your life, but that doesn't mean that it's as good of a piece of media as Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I just think that I really enjoy Rick and Morty as like a comedy show, but I don't think that a comedy show for me will ever be able to compare to like a drama. I don't know why, but like really, really good comedy for me is kind of at a distance. And like the moments in Rick and Morty that I feel are the most high quality are like the more serious moments, And so, but I know that, just judging by the trailer with Pickle Rick and everything, that it's gonna be mostly comedy, So that makes it hard for me to compare the two.
Okay.
I think Game of Thrones is just like, it's better media. It's better acting. It's a better storyline. It's like, it has a lot of like just quality put into it. And like Rick and Morty is very high quality, animated comedy. But I don't know, just Game of Thrones for me is like, it's a sense of wow and wonderment. Whereas like Rick and Morty, you're right, it does make me think and it makes me laugh and like there's all that stuff that goes into it. But like watching Game of Thrones, like almost always I'm just like, wow, like this is great.
Especially once you get to this caliber of just product, of show, you can't really just flat out say, well, one is just strictly better than another. I disagree with that, but I mean, all right, fair enough, that's your opinion. And I mean, I'm still going to watch both of them. I'm just maybe a little more excited for Rick and Morty. A little more emotionally invested in Rick and Morty. I don't know.
I'd say they lost the hype for me for Rick and Morty.
Yeah?
I don't really care that much. I'll be honest. Like, I'm absolutely going to watch on July 30th, but it's been so long, and I just kind of... When it's been long enough, you have that separation for me. It stopped being like, oh man, I wonder when the next season's going to come out. Like, about 8 months after the season finale. Like, I just was kind of, yeah, okay. I can watch it when it comes out, but it's been so long, I can't be hyped for 2 years or, year and a half, however long it took.
No, I get that.
Almost two, yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Almost 2 years. So, I don't know. I'd say they lost me on that. Doing once a year for Game of Thrones has helped it, even though the release date got pushed back this year, so it's a little bit more.
I think there's definitely a turnaround with that, though. This is actually a great real-world example that just happened. Andrew and I, one of our favorite dumb animated YouTube web series, Duralis and Associates, it was done. Like, 2 seasons finished, that's all we're doing, back in
like 2013 or 2014.
Our senior year of high school.
Just came out with a new episode last week.
Episode 50, out of nowhere, no fanfare, released yesterday. And we both lost it. We both lost it for a good 30 seconds when we found that out.
Wow. I mean, I guess. But you're still expecting Rick and Morty. It's not
That's
like the
true.
season or the show ended.
Yep.
So like it's still like kind of a back of the head expectation.
Well, because
so that kind of makes it end.
That, random prank episode, the April Fool's episode, I think that kind of got me hyped up for it again. Because I had kind of forgotten about it. And it was that, shotgun blast to the face surprise that just made me go like, oh, whoa, Rick and Morty. And like, since then I've kind of like, I'm still hyped about it, but not nearly as much. So I get you that waiting this long kind of takes the excitement away. But I think that once it comes back, I'm going to be just as excited.
Maybe a better example. The TV show The Venture Brothers, also animated on Adult Swim. It's still ongoing. But they put out a new 10-episode season, I think on average now, every 3-4 years. And that is a long enough amount of time that, like, I watched the most recent season. I loved it to death. Can't wait for the next one. Forget about it for a year and a half. And then, like, in the next 6 months, when, like, they start making, like, more and more news and trailers for it, I start to get, hyped up again for it. And I guess...
Yeah. I guess I was expecting season 3 to kick off on April Fool's,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting no more news until what? When did they announce a new season? Like a week ago?
Mhm.
So I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting them to episode 2 next week and everything like that, but no.
It is odd to me that they have only had that one trailer so far. That's weird.
Yeah. What if it gets delayed again? Like, would you still be hyped? Because I would be honestly frustrated at that point.
I mean, they put it out on their Twitter that it was July 30th. I feel like...
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But shows don't always make their announcement dates, or movies or anything. Like, it's possible, and if I had to pick a show that's going to be delayed, it might be Rick and Morty. So
When it's this close, though, I think it's, because they didn't announce that their date was going to be July 30th until like a week or two ago. I think when it's this close, then it's kind of set. Like at that point, everything is done.
Well, we'll see, because the thing that television production does is a lot of the times the production, like I say a lot, I mean literally almost every single show on television is still producing episodes while it's airing. Like while an earlier episode is on television, they're still making new episodes. Like Game of Thrones is one of the only exceptions where they film the entire season before it premieres. So in theory, they're I mean, not even in theory. I'm almost positive that they're still working on some of the later episodes of the season, if not some of the earlier episodes on the season, like, because they'll still be undergoing production. So say if they don't want like big delays, like 2 or 3 weeks between episodes, they might just decide to push it back if they're behind schedule. You never know.
I think for a show like Rick and Morty, and there are one or other two animated shows that I've watched where this has happened. I think what they'd more likely than not would get the show up to, at whatever point they started to have like a problem or a conflict, and then just stop at like, I don't know, let's say episode 8 or whatever, and then it's 2 or 3 months before they finish out the season, rather than delay the entire thing. No, yeah, it is absolutely awful, but
So neither of those are good options in reality.
no, I think the latter is just a little more likely to happen than them delaying flat out. I'm not sure, but yeah,
That's fair.
On that super pessimistic note, might as well head into our closing thoughts. And I'm still hype. I mean, even if it does get delayed, even if creative conflicts do diminish the quality, we're still talking one of the best shows on television right now, dropping down to, well, whatever the next best show on television is in terms of quality.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's one of the best shows on television. I think it's probably the best animated show on television, maybe next to Archer.
I think it's better than Archer. I'd say it's pretty clearly the best animated show, if you ask me.
Okay, that's fair.
I to be fair, I've kind of fallen off Archer, but I do think Rick and Morty is the best animated show, and I also kind of agree that I wouldn't necessarily put it in like tier 1, because you can definitely divide them into like tiers, really, modern television. And if it's not tier 1, it's definitely tier 2. So, and yeah, I think you're right. Even if it's not quite up to snuff, it's not gonna fall to like lower rung television. Like, it's still gonna be quality.
Absolutely. I guess Archer, for me, I had there was a little bit of a dip in quality for a couple of seasons there. So I do also put Rick and Morty above Archer, just narrowly, but still. And I don't know, I think it'll be interesting once both shows are wrapped up 5 years out, which one people kind of view as being better than the other.
Yeah,
Really, Rick and Morty wrapped up in 5 years? I don't know. With this gap between seasons, like we're talking, that's after season 4.
I'm going to be honest. I can't see Rick and Morty going beyond maybe 5 seasons at the most.
Yeah, I see Rick and Morty finishing in season 4, or maybe season 5, like an 8-episode season 5 sort of thing.
Yeah, that's possible, I guess.
I think I'd be okay with that.
It's good for shows to go out on top. I can agree. And the thing with Rick and Morty is there hasn't been any drops in quality. Mm-hmm. Like, really, I can't look at a single episode and be like, that was kind of a bad episode. Like, maybe the pilot, I know some people aren't big fans of, but I enjoyed it a lot. So I don't know.
The first 3 episodes, everybody is kind of like, okay, I mean, it's still good, but they hadn't really gotten into the weird shit yet that made it amazing. And I know for season 2, a lot of people
Interdimensional cable.
Yep, that one. And a lot of people didn't care for the Purge episode, actually. They thought it was a little too formulaic.
What?
But I loved that episode.
It got nominated for, like, an Emmy, didn't it? Or whatever.
It was such a good take on that, like, shitty genre.
Yep. I think people have just gotten sick of the idea by that point, though, that they're like, not such a good episode. But no, I thought...
But they were, too. Like, the show creators were sick of the idea as well. Like, I want to meet one of these people, because... Man, that was a great episode. That was the episode you showed us to get us into the show.
And it worked.
Like, that was really good. Yeah, no, it was hilarious. It's legitimately funny. So, I don't know.
3 weeks earlier.
Yeah. You showed us that, then you showed us Interdimensional Cable 1, and then Interdimensional Cable 2. And I know a lot of people shat on Interdimensional Cable 2, because they thought it was just... Like, it was written into Royland's contract that he got to have an improv episode. Like, that was a common theory. So, but Harmon confirmed there's no Interdimensional Cable 3 in Season 3. So, for all those people, I guess they'll be satisfied.
Interdimensional satellite.
Oh, God.
Interdimensional network TV.
Yeah, broadcast television. Interdimensional broadcast television. Ugh.
Interdimensional HBO. It's just like movies and shit.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
Yeah, with only a hint of trepidation, I'm excited. And I wish you could be in Madison, that we could, like, all get together and watch the, well, not the premiere of Season 3, technically, but, like, the Season 3 new stuff that's coming out. But I am glad you will be back in town to catch the end of the season, at least.
Yeah, I'll catch the end of both that and Game of Thrones, so shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I agree. I'll have people here to watch it with, though, which is kind of cool. So
good.
We'll be able to go for it.
Awesome. I think that just about wraps it up. Season 3 of Rick and Morty coming out July 30th on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim. If this podcast hasn't convinced you to watch it by now, I don't know what will.
This episode of Fourth Floor Podcast is brought to you by Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty, give me money.
I forgot the Nintendo thing.
Yeah, that was Justin Roiland all the way. That was 100% Justin Roiland being like, I like Nintendo, I like video games.
Nintendo, give me money.
Give me free stuff. Yeah.
I want to meet Justin Roiland really badly.
I don't know.
Maybe get a dinner with him or something. That would be, like, 2 hours with Roiland, I feel like would be insane.
I don't know if I could meet Riley Reid. That'd be pretty cool.
Wow. All right. On that note, Riley Reid, if you're listening, Andrew wants to meet you. Jade, if you're listening in France, Andrew wants to meet Riley Reid. Ryan, great talking with you. And not sure what our next podcast is going to be, but look forward to it.